the matter of eligibility for Edgar Lungu, you are given startling opinion of what would happen if they ruled against Edgar Lungu, because you warned that the ramifications are great. Just speak to that.
Yes. You see, these are the things that I'd have loved to share with the court, and the court will have had the opportunity to go and think about and be able to reflect this in the judgment. The problem is this. Our Constitution is very clear in terms of how you challenge the outcome of an election. There's a two-phase process. The first process is the nomination process, right? If you recall, in the case of Dan Pule, when they posed that question, I said, no, you cannot deal with this issue. We have to wait until 2021.
Until nomination.
Until nomination, because there is already a mechanism in place to deal with the eligibility of a person to contest the presidential election. And that is contained in Article 52, the same Article 52 that people are advocating for repeal. The Constitutional Court overruled me and said, no, we have just been moved to interpret, so we can interpret anytime. Okay, fine. Now, you remember, I had made several pronouncements to say, I am waiting for President Lungu to file his nomination. In fact, my petition is ready. It's already on.
It's in the drawers.
You remember, I spoke about that because I knew the procedure. Now, we went through. Now, that procedure, that is why it is very clear that if one's nomination is cancelled for whatever reason, the election will be cancelled and fresh nomination will be called. That procedure is designed to ensure that when you have election, that election comprises candidates that qualify. Okay? That is why you have 7 days within which to challenge the validity of any candidate's nomination. Okay? When that 7 days expire and you don't, okay, it means you have no issue with the nomination of that candidate. The nomination of that candidate will never be raised again. That period of 7 days has expired, and the court, when you challenge, the court has 21 days to determine that, but you have 7 days. When that 7 days expire, you don't challenge. That right to challenge the nomination is forfeited, is lost for good. Then you go into an election. The ballots will be printed. Then people will vote. The second level of challenge, you are challenging now not the nomination, but the outcome of the election. Okay? Then you'll now be saying, this person was not validly elected. Okay? You can allege they were vote buying, what and what, or there was some violation of the law relating to the election, not nomination. Then the court has to hear that petition. At the end of that petition, the court will say, yes, you've made a case. We nullify this election. And what happens? You go for fresh elections. You start the process all over. Then the court will say, no, this person was validly elected. That's the end of the chapter. That issue is closed. I've seen some ingenious arguments, whatever, but the Constitution is very clear. It is that election.
So
that election.
This attempt to reopen whether Edgar Lungu was qualified to stand in the 2021 elections is closed.
It's closed. But indeed, Ambassador, he took part.
Yes.
So what are you going to do? And what is the value of doing that? He took part.
And
okay?
When you rule that he was not eligible, aren't you making that election an illegal election?
The point is this, Ambassador.
And its outcomes?
Yes. The point is this. First of all, we'll come to that. So when you do that, he's taking part in the election. Yeah. He was cleared. Right? His nomination was challenged and the court cleared him. A competent court cleared him. It was only after that decision in the Shishua case, that is when now his name appeared on the ballot. The same court that said he's eligible. That is why when you read the petition of the Electoral Commission, it's very interesting. They said, we followed the law. The man was cleared. We put him on the ballot. We did no wrong, which is the correct position. But the most dubious one is the one which is now coming from the Attorney General's chambers, which has now done
the opposite.
The opposite. You don't do that. There has to be consistency in the position of the law. Yes, the Attorney General may change, Solicitor General may change, but it is the office. The office never changes. Yes. What was reflected in 2021 was not Kalaluka's opinion. It was the opinion of the Office of Attorney General. Okay? Now in this case, because it boils down to the issue I'm talking about, people that we put in offices, That is where the problem is, not the Constitution. Now, you change the people, the tune changes as well. You know, so you now have, but Lungu, I mean, that's why I fought that case. I was convinced. I lost.
Yeah.
I have accepted that loss. Okay? Because I expected things could go either way. Now, Lungu took part. What is there to contest? It is over. There's a legal concept that we use, which I have shared with the court, where we said the issue is moot. The issue is dead. The issue of his eligibility in 2021 is dead. There is nothing alive. That election is long gone. The only election we can deal with is 2026. If you are raising this issue for purpose of wait for 2026. Now, these are the problems now. Okay, let's say, okay, the court is being asked to revisit. If the court, and this is what I'm saying, and my plea and my hope and prayer is that the court does not reverse itself. It is in the interest of the country that this constitutional court remains consistent and sticks to its decision, because it is the final court. It will become a joke if at all it reverses itself. And I've looked at it, there is absolutely no ground, no basis on which it can reverse itself, because that election is gone. Now, what are you doing by going back to 2021? We are unraveling things that have already happened. When we start unraveling, where are we going to stop? Okay? We are now going to say, okay, fine, he was not eligible. Fine. But he took part in the election. So, what is the impact of a person that is not eligible on the election that he participated in? If you determine that he was not supposed to be there, but he was there. Now that we know he was there, what is the effect of a person who should not have been part of that election and ended up being part of that election? What is the effect? The court has to resolve that. It has to resolve that. I would argue it means that even that election is tainted. And the outcome of that election is equally tainted. And I'm warning the country, is that where we want us to go? Is that what we want to go? We can't. We can't. We can only move forward. If we want to stop President Lungu from contesting the election in 2026, let's do it through the ballot. Not this through this crazy arrangement that somebody is cooking up. We have to respect the Constitution. The court itself, the Constitutional Court, has an obligation to stick to its own decisions. Okay? But I'll tell you one thing. There is no, throughout the debate, for example, nobody pointed to a provision of the law which authorizes the Constitutional Court to do what it is being asked to do. Nobody. Okay? Because the way our Constitution is structured is that as a public officer, whatever you do, you must point to a provision of the law. If you can't point to a provision of the law, you can't do it. Now, even in this case, the Constitutional Court must be able to point out to say there is a provision in the Constitution which allows us to examine the eligibility of a losing presidential candidate.
That's another big point.
Okay? They should point to a provision of the law. There's a provision of the law.
Because what the petition has done is to single out one participant in that election and said this particular one was not eligible.
Yes.
But that candidate lost election.
He lost election. So tell me, which provision in the law tells you can challenge the nomination, you can challenge the the president-elect, but there is no provision in our Constitution to challenge the eligibility of a losing presidential candidate. If there is, then let them tell us what provision that is. Nobody has pointed to that provision. Now, as long as you can't find that provision, the Constitutional Court cannot do what it is being asked to do. And if it does that, it will be acting in violation of the Constitution itself. And that is dangerous for the country. There is no value, there is no benefit on going on that route. And that is one of the reasons why I accepted to come to your podcast, to sound this warning. Okay? We take so many things for granted. If we must defeat Edgar Lungu, let's do it through the ballot, not this through crazy, But the point is that, I mean, we need to learn from history. It happened in 1996. Let's not let it be repeated in 2026. Okay? The Constitutional Court has ruled. Ambassador, if I may push the argument a little slightly further, in our constitutional arrangement, and I'll make this statement very boldly, and I hope that some lawyers will come and challenge me on that. Only the Supreme Court is allowed to depart from its own decisions. And even that right is qualified. Okay? It must be justified in the interest of justice and in the development of the law. Only the Supreme Court. But there is no similar provision in relation to the Constitutional Court. Whatever decision the Constitutional Court makes, it is bound by that decision. It is stuck with that decision. And as a country, we have to come to that reality. We can't go on and beat the court until it gives us the decision that we want. That is the position of the law, and we have to learn. Let's not fight the Constitution. Let's obey the Constitution. Let's respect what the Constitution says. Okay? That is the starting point. That is the solution to all these challenges that we are talking about. Okay? And Ambassador, we've gotten our priorities wrong. This podcast, we should be talking about, for example, the issue of load shedding.
Yeah.
What kind of, somebody is celebrating about the fact that, well, what's this, the mineral mapping has not been done in what is it, 60 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, and somebody is celebrating about the fact that copper mining is booming. Ambassador, we've been mining copper for nearly 100 years. We have to begin to have a conversation.
Yeah.
What is the impact of mining in this country? Okay? 100 years.
Yeah.
Nearly 100 years of copper mining in this country. We should have a conversation as to the impact of that industry. Yes, you can see $2 billion and everything else. Oh, they'll put it to, but who benefits from that? Who benefits?
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So these are the issues, because these are the bread and butter issues. Not Lungu's eligibility to stand, which was settled. But if we're interested in, we can wait until 2016, litigate that. The time is 2026, time will come. But right now, we should be able, how do we survive this load shedding? How do we survive? That should be part of the national conversation.
I remembered you, the president yesterday was celebrating that there's an investor who put up a cholera vaccine factory. And when you've been very clear, just deal with the water and sanitation issues, and cholera will go away. The solution is not to mask these basic issues with a vaccine. In fact, you're creating a bigger crisis.
Ambassador, it's like you drop in a sewage. Okay?
It doesn't matter how much perfume you add.
Okay? Go and take a shower and change clothes.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
You can put in as much perfume as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that you went in a sewage.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But these are all cosmetic issues. And first of all, I mean, maybe it's another conversation for another day. We always talk about foreign investment, what. Ambassador, what is the impact of foreign investment in this country? What is the impact?
Like you were saying, what's the impact of mining?
Yes.
We've been mining for 100 years.
Yes.
For 100 years, we've been exporting, roughly $5 to $7 billion a
Yes.
year. What's the impact on our people? What's the impact on our development?
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the issues we should be talking about. We export by generating so much. And how much of that is staying here? How much is that? I mean, somebody's saying, well, we'll create 5,000 jobs and what? Those are just numbers. I grew up in Mufulira, Ambassador. That's my hometown.
Yeah.
Mufulira produces the best copper in the world.
True.
Okay? But go there, Mufulira looks like a war zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, those are the issues we should be talking about. When you are generating wealth, shouldn't Mufulira be transformed into a modern city?
Yeah.
Because that's where wealth is generated. So these are the issues we should be talking about. No, these are the rubbish about eligibility and so. That is all rubbish for me. It is inconsequential.
Yeah.
It has no impact on the average person. Okay, that is struggling to make ends meet. Eligibility, there's no nexus between eligibility and putting food on the table. There isn't. We should be able to talk about how are we going to take care of the most vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Okay, we are even struggling to feed ourselves. Okay, now everybody's talking about all the challenges that we have gone through and everything else. We should be having a national conversation.
Yeah.
This load shedding thing, won't go out tomorrow. No. At least somebody should be able to give us data to be able to say, you know what, we expect the situation to improve maybe end of 2025. So that when you are in business, you make a decision whether you want to go in business now or wait for 2026 when electricity improves or not. But that is the kind of information, that is the kind of conversation we should be having, not the rubbish that we're discussing here, So, but the point is...
I'm so glad, Honorable John Sangwa, State Council, that you've come at short notice to alarm the nation on the path we've taken. I think people have been taking it very lightly. They thought that it's a mere contest between Edgar Lungu and Hakainde Hichilema, both of them now using state power to bar each other. And I'm glad that you've put it in proper context, that you're actually threatening national security, and the standing of that judiciary may be eroded irreparably.
Ambassador, this issue is bigger than Lungu. It is the very existence of the country. Yeah. Okay? If it was about Lungu, I wouldn't even come here. Yeah. Okay, because I think Lungu can take care of himself. Yeah. But I'm talking about it is the country. This issue affects the country. And we can't just sit and allow certain people, because they're driving their own narrow, selfish, and transient agenda, to undermine the very existence of this country. We can't. Okay? And this issue is bigger than all of us. You know, remember we went through, I keep telling you, we went through between 91 and 96. And my plea to Zambians, let's not allow what happened to Dr. Kaunda in 96, where he got bad through a constitutional arrangement, for Lungu to be equally bad, okay, through some ingenious arrangement with the judiciary. We have to stop that. If we have to stop Lungu, let's do that through the ballot. Let's do that through the ballot. Yeah. It's already there. In any case, you know the funny thing that I see. I mean, people are wise enough to reject Lungu, right? Now,
why are you doubting them?
Why are you doubting them? Why have you lost faith?
What have you done so wrong?
Yes,
that you are afraid of the decision of the people?
Yes, you are now. You don't have confidence in us, the electorate, that will make the right decision in 2026. Yeah. Why are you doubting us? Okay, so don't use these things. Trust the system. Trust the people. They'll do the right thing come 2026.
Oh, wonderful.